Good afternoon. Man, it has been a crazy week so far. I don't know what it is about, if it's the weather, if it's the end of school year or what, but like I've had more like people like get on my calendar and move calendar entries than I think any other week this year so far. Like it's just been like, hey, I need to meet with you. And then like another person be like, hey, I need to move this because I got interrupted with something else. And so it's just been a flurry of activity all week.
Yes, yes, it has been.
Which when you're in sales, it's a good thing, right? The pot's getting stirred.
Yeah. Well, the fact that they're wanting to reschedule and not ghost us is
Gosh.
the most encouraging part. So
Yeah, ghosting is not a response, people, because here's what happens in sales, right? You're like, I've got to get through this email list. And everybody in MSP here has been in sales. You email a client, a prospect, you're like, hey, let's do something. And the prospect's like, yeah, sure. And then they never respond back. Like, did my email get filtered in spam? Do I have the wrong ad? I mean, like, there's a whole bunch of things that can go wrong. Because every once in a while we get somebody like, you never emailed me back. I'm like, yes, we did. And like, oh crap, you got like 10 email messages in spam.
yeah,
And so, yes, we need to improve our spam rating. But when you're working with HubSpot or a CRM, sometimes you're at the whims of whatever they change.
yes, that has been. Dealing with the external factors is always the fun part of the job, right?
And that's all part of service, right? And that's what we're talking about today is how do you improve your service delivery? And that ties directly into perceived value.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have service delivery sitting there and you have these things that you can do, but the client doesn't know what's going on or they don't see the benefit of it. It's just like you're ghosting your client. You're not talking to them. They don't see any benefit because the lights are on. And so you are a ghost.
Let me stop you there, Adam, for you. Remember, the benefit is to their business.
Yes.
And the benefit is not to their technology. It's not that server, that workstation, that network, it's not that all of that ran perfectly. They don't care about packet loss. Jitter doesn't mean anything to them. If your client's old enough, it's some sort of dance, okay? And all of those technology things they have no value to your client. All right. The value is always going to be to their business. So you have to keep that in mind.
Yeah. And I want to make sure everybody's just aware of that. Like, that's why you have these struggles with clients who were like, well, everything's going well. And our client leaves us because everything's going well. They never hear from us. Yes, your perceived value is low. You've heard this over and over from 1,000 people in the channel. Your perceived value is low because you're not talking to your clients.
Yeah.
If everything's going well, that's good. The engine is running.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do we improve the engine? And the engine is the business, not the technology portfolio, Skip said. And that is where your service people come in. Are you able to get on site and do something for your client that helps their business grow? I was just talking to a prospect here this morning. I tell the story all the time. I went to an air show last year, and every single one of those vendors was using cell phone internet to do their POS. Well, the problem with that is there's one cell phone tower here, and you've got 30,000 people at this air show, and you're trying to compete for data bandwidth.
Yep.
Those towers are not infinite, people.
Yep.
Now, had their service provider for that particular restaurant or food chain or sales tool said, hey, you know what? Let's get you on Starlink, or let's get you on some kind of alternate internet, so that when you're there, you don't have to say, oh, sorry, we're cash only right now because our point of sale is down.
Mm-hmm.
I watched more vendors just bleed cash. They had one ATM out there, and it kind of worked because it was on the same cell tower as everybody else.
Yeah.
And I watched vendors just bleed cash as people walked from vendor to vendor trying to find somebody who would take their card so the kid would stop screaming. That was an IT problem, people. That was an IT problem. And no one fixed it for them. So they weren't able to deliver service because, everything was working fine. No one knew there was a better way.
Yeah. And we always talk about referrals as well. It's just kind of the topic that, keeps coming and going and coming and going. But if you deliver a great business solution, that is going to get referrals. Out those vendors out there, the one that, signed up with you and you helped plan, and, in that scenario, they're the ones taking the credit card. I mean, they're the ones that just can't stop, making money. And all the other vendors are looking at them going, crap. And eventually, they're going to wander over there and go, dude, how are you doing this? How are you making money? All right. Yep. And that is the referral you really want. It's not, oh, my servers run great. It's, oh, I got shiny blinky lights. It's, hey, my business works great because I'm working with this provider. They take care of my business, not necessarily your technology, but it's your business technology. I know they're closely connected, but maintain the focus that you're taking care of their business.
Yeah, and you really want to focus on that when it comes to service delivery. So when I create this email here, so if you get our NAN, if you're in a newsletter, let us know if you don't get it, because again, HubSpot's been weird for us lately. A lot of getting a lot of junk mail. But anyways, the idea is, how do you audit customer gaps in their service stack? Everybody talks to me about how to audit stacks in the architecture. Yep. So the hardware and software, that's easy. We're almost close to automating that, right? The next step is, how do you automate? How do you talk to your customer about service delivery? Things that, like, for instance, what do you do for your customers? And you ask your client that, and they say, we sell hot dogs at concert events. Like, okay, so what's your biggest problem there? Well, one of our big problems is our point of sale system does not work consistently. And it's constantly like bugging out. Now, I know there's nothing you can do about that, but that's just a pain for us. Like, actually, there's something I can do about that. That is a service you can provide. When you do a concert, we will have a tech go out and make sure that you are set up properly with a satellite link up or alternate internet with some kind of city Wi-Fi or something that will help out. Or maybe a bigger antenna. I don't know. But so what you got to do is you got to decide, how are you going to help them? And what is that service going to cost? Because if I know I can sell 300 more hot dogs an hour at this place, then I am darn well going to pay you whatever you want. It's like Skip's story about the satellite out in the field. Like, it's not worth $30,000 a month, right? Yeah.
Until I figure out that it's, $15,000 an hour when they're down.
Yeah.
Wow, my math ain't good, but it works pretty quick in that scenario.
Yeah. I could do that math. Like, service delivery, that's what it's all about. But you have to listen to your client's services. And they need to fit in, like, man, if we did a white glove service for John's Hot Dogs, they would make an extra $30,000 a month on all these events. And now their CFO is doing this math, not you.
Yes.
And they're going to be like, what does it take to get a satellite hook link up? Like, well, here's what it takes. Yeah. And then we can have a technician come out and set this up. It'll cost you $200 per event for us to set up the system. And then you can be out here. Or you might say, hey, we got like 10 vendors that are coming out to this event. We're going to put up a private internet for our clients to provide a service at concerts. And therefore that private internet becomes the point of sale system. Or maybe the venue already has a Wi-Fi and you could be supporting it and helping them. This is how service works. Notice I've not talked about hardware other than the satellite link up at any time. I'm making things happen like magic.
Well, like in that hot dog sales, in your conversation, listening to your clients, and they tell you, wow, our point of sale just really doesn't work well. We're really struggling to get that to working. A follow-up question would be, well, how much do you think you're losing in revenue? All right. Yeah. Because now you've set expectations. All right. If it's 1 out of 20 and they're losing $5 an hour, right? It's probably not an issue we need to really dive into. But if they're losing an amount that shows up on their radar, they're like, yes, this is significantly impacting our profitability in these instances. It's also going to set the budget for what can fix that. Yep. Because if your solution costs more than what they would recover in revenue, obviously it's a no-brainer for everybody. But when it comes in, then it's equally a no-brainer for everybody. Oh, let's do this. We'll make more money.
So, I just did a quick little math. Like, if you sold 2 hot dogs an hour for an hour, or a hot dog a minute for an hour, it's $360. And then times a 5-hour event, that's $1,800. Now, if my POS system isn't working, that's $1,800 loss. I'm willing to pay your technician $200 to come out and guarantee me internet.
Yeah.
But that's what happens when you ghost your clients. if you just say, oh, I've got the internet up and running, I've got the network up and running, they don't need me.
Right.
You no longer are being curious about what their service delivery is and how you can improve it. You have met the bare minimum for IT. Congratulations, people. The bare minimum.
Yeah.
You're like the mechanic who changes the oil and taps the tires and says, looks good. And doesn't actually talk to the customer. Like, do you notice anything going on with the car? What are you doing with your car? It might be a better model out there for you.
Yep.
And so finding those service gaps will allow you to increase your perceived value, because now you're delivering things with the client and helping them with their services by including yours. So you might have a on-site service that you can offer for those people who sell at events. You might have a 8x5 service during the day, but then give them that premium service in the evening, which is when all the concerts run. Find a way to deliver service that your client needs so that they can succeed and see, oh my gosh, we cannot do this without Skip. We cannot do this without Adam. They have been such an instrumental. Our sales have gone through the roof because our IT people are helping us sell more.
Right.
That's service delivery. It's not about you. It's about them.
And when you're in that position, they are much more willing to pay your invoices and much less willing to haggle with you over prices, because you are helping them be profitable. They have the money now to pay those invoices because of you. And that makes really, really good business sense. But let me give another kind of a very service, kind of the engineer follow-up on this one. Guys listening and girls listening, you might be thinking this is very much account manager role, whether that's your title or not, it's the role. But no, this applies to just your regular technicians that are working tickets. And when they're interfacing with clients, they need to be cognizant of the impact of this. So, it may not be worth going through and making it a standard field or anything, but they need to be asking and understanding, hey, how is this outage? How is this problem impacting your business? What is down? What is it you're not able to do? And one, just having a baseline understanding of that is going to help them triage the tickets, work them appropriately. I mean, that's all pretty standard. But if you do find a way to collect this information along the way, now you're building, in a sense, a service gap analysis. You're building an audit that says, hey, we're working, however many tickets, and 20% of them are impacting this business line, impacting this business deliverable. Maybe we should focus our attention on solving this problem, not the technology problem, but the business problem. Or supporting the business problem so the clients can solve it. But it needs to be a holistic approach. This is not just for the account manager. This is for everybody in the organization to be aware and to some extent understand how the service is impacting your client's business. Yeah.
And when Skip has those two Qs, you go on our website, you see those two Qs, like what's your biggest source of revenue and what's the biggest risk of that? That's what we're trying to drive there. Mm-hmm. Because you can I have found insanely good contracts with the smallest clients, schools or doctor's offices or photographers, because they didn't know technology could solve a problem they had. They thought technology was the problem. And yes, okay, let me help you come up with a more clever idea. And sometimes it's not using technology. Sometimes it's, okay, you're going to pay this way. We're going to go old school. We're going to do something else. Sometimes it's avoiding technology in the field and coming up with a manual system. So for those of us who remember how to do things manually, or remember why we have certain computers in place, like, okay, don't use the computer, use a Abacus. It's going to be way faster. And we call that big O notation in mathematics, where we're talking about, are you efficient? What's the cost of efficiency? So when it comes to services, it may take you 2 hours to get on site to help fix this problem, but the client needs to be up in 15 minutes. Or you could have this remote capability where you could actually fix it in 10 minutes, but it costs a lot more. And so what's the overhead to help? And so when it comes to services, that's where you really get into service delivery is how are you helping your clients in a way that matters to them and their service delivery model so that you can deliver quality solutions. So the client will be like, I didn't know that was possible. You just gave us an edge over every vendor. Heck, put a sign up at that air show saying, guaranteed our POS, you can buy here.
Yeah.
Internet not down.
Oh yeah.
Like watch people come in. They may not like a hot dog, but the kid is screaming. You know, I will give you $1,000 for a hot dog right now. This is filling a need. And you don't know where those are going to happen unless you have the conversation. If you don't have that service conversation, you just say, oh, everything's going well with my client. You assume you know what their business is and how it's working. And you assume that the status quo is being met. Okay, there's a problem. Everybody knows this phrase. If you're not growing, you're
dying.
Is your client growing? Are you helping them to grow? Do you want to keep this client in the future? Then you have to be part of their growth. You need to use your service delivery model. Like when you ask service questions, do they need 24/7 support? Do they need 8x5? Do they need on-site? Now ask the next questions. Do we understand their model? Do we understand their business? Are we helping their business improve? These are questions you need to ask in service delivery. And I don't see very many people doing it. Every once in a while, I'll see somebody do like a smile back, like, are we helping your business in a way that you want? Are you satisfied with us? Try asking the question, are we helping your company grow? And how are we doing that? Is there anything that's holding you back? That's a pain point that we can talk about in our next session. And now you're value providing.
I mean, there's several great ideas there that you can start working through. I mean, well, you know, in a QBR or something, you can talk about the wins and losses from last quarter. How did technology help you make more money last quarter? What technology element really drove business, supported, you know, how your staff is operating, allowed you to close more deals, whatever that is, and let your client define that, pick that, make note of that, all right, because that is obviously a critical business application, right? And you're going to want to make sure you support that, right? And then, but get the inverse. I mean, what didn't work well? And if you're coming at that from a business perspective, in both scenarios, they're going to be detailing for you the impact that technology has on their business. And then when you come around, so now they said, yeah, we were able to do, you know, so much more because of those new servers or that new whatever. All right. So you've made note of that. Well, when the cycle comes around, it's time to refresh that hardware. All right. Then you can call out that business objective. Hey, we need to refresh these things because they are supporting, they're enhancing this part of your business. It's no longer, hey, this device is old. We recommend you replace old devices. All right. That's a hard sell. All right. But when you say this device here makes your organization more money, we want to keep it making more money. It's time to refresh it. That's a totally different conversation. So these build and they keep growing. And again, we've said this many, many times. You don't have to be the expert in your client's business. They are. All right. Let them tell you the business needs, understand what those are, and then apply the technology to it. But don't try to insert the solutions that you think might fit. You probably be wrong. All right. So every business is different, just like yours. So get that dynamic right and let your clients lead those sort of topics and discussions.
Yeah. It's more than just fixing computers. It's about what can you do, not turn screws, but what can you allow your clients to do. In the corporate IT, we get to do this all the time where we get to see the end result. As an MSP, you need to see the end result for your clients. Are you a trunk slammer, break fix, or are you a service provider? This is where you prove it. This is where you prove you are a service provider and partner with your clients. And it all starts with asking good questions and saying, how can I improve your service? What are the biggest pain points to your service? And you might hit upon customers like a hot dog vendor that says, I wish I could sell better on site. That stupid thing always breaks down. Anyways, The good thing I can tell you guys about right now is I'm going to let people who watch this or look in the comments here. You're going to see that we have a webinar next week. It's a really good one. Now, I still have to add like 2 more things to the landing page here, but the registration link works just fine. So the how to avoid tool sprawl. And we're going to have Halo, Ninja, and Humanize IT on for a great webinar to talk about like this. You know, you have that tool you buy and then you never use it again. You bought it for one problem and you never use it again. It went back on the shelf. Or you bought that Mastercraft set and you only use the 9mm wrench, the 10mm wrench, and the pliers.
Right.
You know, so how do you identify what is the core of your delivery? What are the 3 tools? Like, for instance, I'm a big channel lock guy. This all spurted from a conversation between Skip and Richard and I. And I think Sebastian just bought a house and we're talking about the tools that you need. Oh, and I'm like, I'm all about a good pair of. I talk about my channel locks, and then Skip's like, me too. We started sharing pictures of our favorite channel locks we had, and started thinking of like, you know, how this applies to IT so much. Like, we have our go-to tools, but then we have the tools we bought and we pay for, and they're just kind of sitting off to the side. But then we have tools that we don't have that we know we need, like an angle grinder. The first time I used an angle grinder, I did not know what I was missing in my life. That is I have like 3 angle grinders now. And some people out there, what the heck is an angle grinder? Like, you're missing this tool. This tool will save you more bloody knuckles and swearing than anything else. So next week, we have this great webinar coming up. It's in the comments. Register on StreamYard for it. It just asks for an email address. It's going to be a great one, guys.
Looking forward to it.
The speakers are fantastic. So Ninja, Halo, if you ever talk to these guys and their speakers, they're always a lot of fun. They know what they're doing. And we're all independent software, so we get along really well.
Yeah, very good.
Well, I will let Skip go, and I will see you all next week.
See ya.